Good morning, gardening friends. It's June 28th at about 10 a.m. The batteries for the camera are recharged. I got a fresh card in. I'm almost recharged. Unfortunately, the garden needs a little attention. I've had some things going on in my life. I'll spare you the details. But let's take a look at what I found in the garden. My whole irrigation experiment has been somewhat of a failure without me realizing it. Because if you don't water from the top of the soil will develop a crust. And so what ends up happening, and I started to realize this, is that the soil will actually separate. It'll actually shrink. And I could actually see that in every one of these planters, and you can see a little bit of separation right there. And you can see one of the plants has fallen here. It's wilted down to nothing, so I may end up yanking some stuff. I'm going to have to go through and carefully select what I want to do. The irrigation system was putting water in the middle, but apparently that wasn't enough. So I got to figure out what to do. I'm going to do a lot of deadheading and cleaning, and I may have to make some sacrifices and plant some new stuff. I'll figure that out. That means all these little labels here will have to change eventually, although I don't know if they're really accurate anymore. But it is what it is. I'm going to try and deal with this. I've been trying to maintain other areas that I do in my full report. So let's actually do sort of a full report. You can see the 2010 pineapple tomato plant is still doing okay despite everything. This thing will not die. Even the hornworms last year, and I cut it way back and it won't die. And I just spotted, just as I'm talking here, I just spotted that I actually have a couple of blooms. So we'll see if that develops into anything. But that's the tomato plant. Let's take a look at the other stuff. We've got the lima beans, which I probably need to pick the lima beans off of, but that plant is just kind of crowded in there. It may be time to just yank it, and I got enough other beans growing, which I'll show you in a minute. The nasturtium was going completely crazy before. Now it's kind of dying back. I do have a couple of blooms. I got one there. I got one there. The tumbler tomato, finally one of the plants is growing big enough, and it's actually putting out blooms over there. I was kind of hoping it would bloom over here and drape down over. So, hey, I can't tell the plant what to do. But and there's a couple of smaller tumbler tomatoes going there. So maybe by the end of the summer I'll get some tomatoes coming off of that. Anyway, that's kind of the main planter. That's a pretty decent summary anyway. Then we've got the medium-sized planter. And I don't know how well I can show you this. I may have to go left-handed here. So my apologies in advance for the shaking. Let me see if I can kind of get you an angle up that way and see. It's kind of hard to see, so maybe we'll do it from the other side. But I've got, wow, it's really kind of hard to see. But there are a number of fruit that have tried to come up, and yeah, I still need to clean the lens. That's a regular thing. I don't have a lens cap for this thing, the shutter that closes up. Oh, hey. Just pause for a minute. Which one is that? That's not Grandma or Grandpa. That's a different hummingbird. See if I can move away a little bit. Oh, scared him off. Oh well. Anyway. So I was saying that I've been getting a lot of fruit showing up on the plant, but most of it just dies off. So it may be that the fruit is just falling off naturally and it wasn't a grasshopper, although I have seen grasshoppers. Actually back in the main planter, I've got, let me see if I can show you. Yeah, take a look at that. That's one of my greens. It's nothing but stem. That little bugger's been just eating the greens. So I may stop with growing greens, and this may no longer be the grow your own salad planter. I'll have to kind of repurpose it. I got to figure out what in the world they don't like so they don't kill it all. Because you spend months trying to get it to grow to that point, and then they come in to eat all the leaves off on you. Anyway, medium planter basically doing okay. It's just not quite enough energy yet for all of the fruit it keeps trying to put out. So there's some issue with balance there, I don't know. We have the other kabocha squash plant there, which is not as big. We've got the corn, which is looking reasonably healthy, but not getting any taller. And we got another corn back there, which is just sort of spreading out. The beans have all pretty much died in there. But that's not the end of the world, because the beans here are doing remarkably well. These are the newer ones. These were planted about 2 weeks ago. I got all 4 of my wax beans. I've got, what was this? Oh yeah, the cow peas. I've got 3 of those. I planted 1 in each corner. 3 have germinated. The 4th may still pop up. The pinto beans, I got all 4. We're doing good there. The strawberry, there is a bloom in there, so it survived the transplant. I don't know if I'll get any more strawberries this year, but it may continue on next year. We get the plants that used to be on the north courtyard there. They're still surviving. Cucumbers are getting a little bit bigger, not a whole lot. But we got the bush in the back, and we've got the lemon cucumber in the front, which never seems to really grow for me. So it is growing. That's a good thing. Basil, memorial planter. More chamomile, and the chamomile seems to be dying off most of what I've got here. You know, that's an easy one to go out and get, so I'm not going to make a big deal about losing them. I did plant some echinacea into some of these planters, so we may start seeing that pop up. So it may be that as one dies off, the other one will come up. We've got broom corn going up nicely there, and stock or carnation, I forget which, behind it. We've got basically combinations of basil and chamomile running along, and another, I'm going to guess that's broom corn, not actual corn, with a nice petunia behind it. The tomato plant, which always looks sick but still survives. Oh, and that reminds me, there's the other tomato plant over here, which looked like it was completely dead, and now it's bouncing back. So it's finally put out its own roots. We've got the tall zinnia, where the bottom leaves are getting chewed up by something. I gotta figure this stuff out. We've got the first of the planters I ever built, which looked really crappy when I built it, and nothing seems to be surviving in there, so I'm probably going to end up pulling this out and putting something else in its place. And we've got the beautiful red flowers, which I can never remember what they're called, but they're doing nicely. So that's it for inside. Yeah. Almost forgot to mention the greens on this side, which I got to figure out. I may transplant some of these into the big planter, but they're doing okay. They're not doing great, but they don't get as much sun as everything else. So then we're on to the hanging planters, and this one's looking a little bit better. After a couple of days ago, I did cut out some of the dead stuff and give it some fertilizer. There is the tomato I'm trying to grow below. It's not looking so good. I don't know, this one particular planter just doesn't seem like I can grow anything in the bottom. Whereas the tomatoes have done really well, and you'll see that in a minute. In the other planters, I mean. We got another planter here with, I don't know, is that baby's breath sticking out there? I don't know, it's just itty bitty little, let me go in a little closer for you. Those are those flowers. It looks like it's dead from the stem, but then you get to the top and you got flowers. And something growing beneath, actually that's looking healthier than a couple of days ago, so that's good. Okay, so I said I had a fresh card in there. I guess it wasn't fresh. It ran out. Anyway, here's another one of the hanging planters. You can kind of see it looks a little sickly, but it's coming back. We got the other planters over here. Some of the stuff was kind of wrapping up inside, so that's why it's hanging over the side right now. I found a long enough plant in there, I just kind of pulled it out so it would get some of the sun. Down below doesn't look so great. Down below is non-existent here. I got to stick something else in the bottom there. Well, we got some developments up here, and I cleaned up the planters down on the ground, so that gives you a little idea of what I've done there. We'll move over to the office, and so that's the one on top of the office, doing nicely, but the plant underneath has died. So again, I got to find something that maybe the sun is too intense. Find something else that'll put out its own roots. That seems to be the key. More fun over at these hanging planters. The flower underneath is not doing quite so well. It's still alive, still green, but we'll see. Up above is looking nicely. We've got these light purple flowers there. I can't really see too well what I'm showing you. The screen on my camera is not all that big. More of the similar, I'm just going to show them to you here. You can see that one. This is a sight to behold. That's a success with just jamming some tomato plant branches into the bottom. The one on the left is really taking off and starting to point back upwards. The one on the left also has some nice flowers up top. Hopefully you can see that. I really need to clean that lens. Unfortunately, the saucer in the front here got neglected, so it's not doing real well. I may have to yank some stuff and do some sacrifices, plant some new stuff. Let's see what happens. Overall, I've moved pretty much everything off of here, except for that one plant there and the plant behind it. So more stuff that needs a little TLC, but that's why I moved everything off of here, is just because I didn't really have the time to be back here. It was easier to have it all out front, and I may have some more stuff for you fairly soon. But I think that's it for this update.